بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام بسم الله.
Bismillah.
So that's taking permission. Am I worthy of beginning to see the vastness of your universe and of your cosmos? Am I interfering in it, or is it under your rahmah? Bismillah. I'd like to share something which is very important our time, and that is how humanity has, over hundreds of years, thousands of years, has converged to the most important aspect of importance. And that is, what is it all about? Who are we? Where are we going? What is death? How can we live joyfully with least insecurities, fears, and complaint? In other words, contentment. The time we're living in is wonderful in that there are far more people now than ever before who are desperate about their provisions, about their safety, security. There are far more people now than they were the last few hundred years or thousands of years, whose main concern was survival. We are at a time in the world that there are more and more and more and more people having the privilege of having taken care of survival, existence, subsistence, shelter, clothes, and food, having taken care of that, or are continuing to take care of that without it being filling all their energy, in that there is spare time now, spare energy as to who am I? What is death? Why do I get angry? Why do I want to have harmony? Why do I prefer love to hate? So all of these questions are now becoming more and more global. That's why I consider it the best of time in an evolutionary sense, in the sense of the rise of consciousness, in that we as human beings are everywhere, in every corner in the world, there are people who are asking the same question. What is the purpose of my life? Why do I need deep sleep, and yet I want to be fully alert and awake and my mind functioning optimally? How do you reconcile all of these things? Where is God's justice? And. So humanity is collectively focusing more and more and more amongst the elite, amongst those who can have the energy and the time to reflect and think and share, as to who are we? Who am I? And the wonderful thing is that more and more people realize that we are all, as human beings, have the same potential, in that the source of life in us, we call it soul, spirit, whatever, is exactly the same, irrespective of color, size, race, education, wealth. Potentially we are the same. We want to maintain life in our body, we want to maintain quality health, but at the same time we're seeking something that is not tangible, not describable, beyond feelings, emotions, and thoughts. It is a very subtle light that when you enter that zone, then you go beyond fears and anxieties and concerns and all of the other things which are normal to human beings. I consider this as a big, big gift. And by connecting with different people of different color, different race, different religions, who are on the same page or the same chapter, then it is true, it is one world, one humanity, seeking its cosmic source of divinity. And that is, when that becomes deep in every heart, then the ever-increasing violence, the ever-increasing destructiveness, the ever-increasing warfares will begin to subside. Otherwise, it will continue and becomes more and more remote because human being cannot take it. You cannot see so much bloodshed and killing on your hand. So therefore, we do it remote control. Until that transparency, accountability, and the constant touch of the joyfulness of pure life, pure consciousness, becomes accessible and is constantly connected with. When that happens, then a person has saved himself or herself from himself or herself. Meaning, you are living much more as a soul, as a spirit, as a divine entity, than as a biography. In other words, the photon, which is an entity, is ever connected with this wave function, which is ongoingness. The photon has a beginning and an end, like my own personal life. But life has no beginning and end. And until I accept that my life is not separate from cosmic life, then I'm all the time worried, concerned, afraid, and I'm subjected to sorrows. So, purpose of life are countless. Reducing pain, reducing agony, reducing suffering, reducing sorrow, reducing mental agitation, on and on and on. All of them mean reasonable balance at body level, reasonable balance at organs, and then mind, and then emotions, and then reasonable balance, until such time you're easy to attain that balance. You want to go beyond it, because nothing is ever enough. And that is why the definition of deity, the divine God, Akbar, is not big, it's bigger. That means not subject to size, not subject to space and time. All of us human beings are made of the same template: physical, the intermediary, and the spiritual. And as growing animals in consciousness, our first concern is the physical, material, food, sustenance, shelter, sleep, comfort, ease, health. Soon when that is attained, you know, if you reflect enough, nothing that is discernible, measurable, thinkable is enough. So you begin to know that satisfaction is beyond the mental evaluation or measurement. Our age is that of basic, it's a very low grade science, is of measurement. It's necessary, but it is a first step. As many of the doctors and others realize that there are effects of all of the other entities, the bacteria, the viruses, and millions of other discernible, measurable, but ultimately healing and well-beingness connects with some other zone. So healing can occur in spite of the fact that, you know, a basic normal GPs think it's not possible. But there are always the exceptions. And that shows that we are actually a spectrum. We are connected to the physical, material, discernible, and to that which is beyond. And that's the source of life. The more I calibrate with that, the more I am in constant reference to the perpetual, to the eternal, the more I am in the right, full balance, not denying humanity, but constantly being replenished by divinity. So I am earthly, heavenly. I am celestial, terrestrial. And as one practices more and more this balanced way, without being concerned about the balance or measuring it, in other words, being constantly recharged by that which is beyond measurement or balance, then your sight becomes insight. You see the thing maybe through your eyes, but immediately you understand its inner meaning. Why is the person angry? Why is he or she breaking the plates? It's an expression of discontentment. desperation, agony, pain. And we are designed not wanting pain. We are designed to immediately respond to pain. The autonomic system in us takes over. As humans, we are not trustworthy to take care of it. Naturally, your finger will withdraw from the fire because it wants to preserve life. Anything that is alive has its main, constant obsession is to preserve life. All of us, each one of us. So once you accept that we are all obsessed with that, so the most important thing in life is to be tuned to life. And life, to begin with, is personal. But soon you realize it's cosmic. There are countless living entities which are not necessarily sentient. What about all what goes on in the amazing interconnectedness between elements, in chemistry and physics, in galactic relationships, and. This is another version of connectedness and responding and communicating. And then comes sentiency and awareness of awareness, which is a magnificent gift and the zone we are in. Once we climb that ladder of awareness, you soon reach a point of transcending it. You've entered into a zone that has no more non-awareness. So it becomes pure consciousness. Silence. Deepest reflection with nothing that you can discern. All religious prayers, supplications, pilgrimages, all the practices connect to this hope of experiencing that state. But you are here, you don't know what is here or there or anywhere. So you lose sense of space and time. That's why one of the most important aspects of health is deep sleep. No sense of space and time. So as the repair work in the neuron and the mind and the body and the organs can take place. That's why the more we can recalibrate with being relaxed, not all the time fight or flight and run here, but that's why we love to constantly be in a state of not having to do anything. No matter what you do, there is something else to do. No matter how much projects you have, good or whatever, there are endless projects. Doesn't mean you don't undertake projects. But the time may come with a growing up individual, reflective, spiritual being, that you say, no, I will only respond. There is nothing that I want. But if I can help to reduce somebody's anxiety, anguish, pain, suffering, I would do that. Because there is still some empathy and sympathy, so long as you are breathing as a human being. You cannot deny that. Also, you cannot deny the truth and the fact that you know that suffering and pain and all of that becomes habitual. Once anything exists, it has a tendency to continue. In fact, Newton's laws of motion, which is magnificent, anything that moves will want to continue to move. Anything that is still remains still. Of course, unless it's interfered with by another force. So any thought will perpetuate, wants to perpetuate itself. That's why the early great beings like Zoroaster were warning not to have any bad thoughts, not to have any, because it will perpetuate itself, it will grow. So he says, good thinking, good talking, good action. Otherwise it becomes a habit. After a few times the neurons will connect and they go, whatever exists has a touch of life which is continuous forever. So it wants to exist. These are the laws of, but as much as the laws of physics are clear and obvious, so are these. But we need to be aware of them. So you have greater awareness of your inner self, the inner reality, the microcosm. Otherwise it just becomes talk and this is my, No, it is real. Watch out. Don't allow it in your mind. You're all the time concerned about what we put in our mouth, what we put in what we smell. What about what you put in your head? It affects you in a more, if you like, impacting way. It touches all the organs or your cells or your blood circulation and so on and so on. So really education is very much to do with helping the growing up person to understand how things are. So by saying, who am I? You are whatever can ever be thought of or discerned. All of the chemical issues, all of the physical issues, all of the emotional issues, all of the biological, and more so. There is something that is giving you this life. Without that touch, all of these fantastic orchestrations cease. So this is what children need to be shown, not just taught. But if the parents are not living, it's also difficult. So if they are brought up in an ambience that is taking care of the visible, material, discernible, and more so, then it becomes part of their life. Then skills and other things are easy to acquire. You go to an institute, it's easy to learn a language after 2, 3, 4 years, but not easy to have a full understanding of the atlas of life, the different sketches, maps that brings about this amazing being. What often surprises me is that, to even ride a bicycle or do something or fishing, you need a license. But to produce children, nobody needs a license. Here, there are all kinds of future criminals produced all over the world. It really amazes me. Because it's not a popular issue. So politicians who only have few years to be elected would not dare to do it. There's no leadership anymore. Because everybody wants to lead. Whoever is wanting to lead is most unlikely to be a very good leader. So they may be able to improve numbers. Said, yes, during my premiership for 4 years, whatever, the GDP increased. Yes, but there became more drunkard, more drug addicts. I don't know. It increased. You had more money, but less happiness, less joyfulness, less durability of goodness, and so on and so on. We become too excessively on the quantitative side, but it will balance. Again, because of the connectedness in the world, I think it is the most wonderful time we are living in. We realize how the same we are, each one of us, from north, south, east, west, same in what we hope for, what we pray for, constantly in touch with tranquility, with contentment, with happiness. Happiness in itself is not so important, nor is contentment. But it is a door to that zone of the quantum zone of perfection of light or pure consciousness. So unless I am content and happy, I am not at the door of the infinite. I am still in the finite, I am caught. That's why we want happiness, not for itself. It's an indicator that I now am at the point connecting the seen and the unseen, the world of space and time with the cosmic infinitude. That's why we all want happiness, we all want contentment, we all want to have painless life, fearless, whatever, so that we attain our full potential, heavenly, earthly, permanent, temporary, human, divine. That's it. That's the whole issue. And this has to be described, discussed, reflected upon, and then lived. Otherwise it becomes, like Junaid said 1,000 years ago when they asked him about Islam and Muslims. He said, well, the Muslims are the real ones are at the grave, and Islam has gone to the books. So it's like that. It happens. It's not the fault of anyone. It is natural. That is why our perception, our evaluation is semi-accurate. Let somebody come into this room doing something or say something. Each one of us will read it slightly differently. And in a day or two, we'll even each one of us will read it differently. So that is why. He said, what did he say? Like that wonderful clip in a film called The Life of Brian. He was saying that blessed are the peacemakers. So they were far, they couldn't hear. So he said, what did he say? He said, blessed are the cheesemakers. So somebody who wanted to put Jesus even higher, he said, it really means dairy workers. It's not bigger. It's not just cheesemakers. So we are like that. We must laugh. Really. And the more you are beginning to be reflective, meditative, the more you find the whole thing is humorous. And therefore, even when they come to you with a big tragedy, before you empathize or try to help, you see the comedy of the tragedy. And then you do what you can, because you are still in this body. So you live the whole spectrum. Basic animals, which all of them are in us. We have evolved from that. And the light of light of light of light, or the divine. So the entire spectrum is within every one of us. It's for that reason human beings are sacred. And look at the wonderment. It's a great thing that it's the ultimate crime if you kill somebody. I think this in itself proves that we are all in every way spiritual. We all revere life. Look, it's a great state we are in. We have to celebrate it and help the others who are less fortunate, especially at the basic level. A bit of shelter, a bit of food, a bit of clothes, and then move on. Otherwise, never is enough. Take a poor, miserable person and give them, nothing is enough. Come back after 2 months, they want more. You give them 1 car, they need 2 cars. What about this? You need that. It is like, the nature of human being is not to be content with anything that is measurable, discernible, or visible. Because ultimate contentment connects with the part in you and in me that is pure spirit. I have to give in to it. I have to accept it. Once I accept it, then I am accepted also. Then I don't hanker after reputation, after status. You are free of all of these natural human tendencies. A 20-year-old needs to have skills that they can show and prove and be admired. 30, 40-year-old, you know that whatever success is, there is also failure. By the time you are in your 50s or mature, you want victory. You want that which is constant. You don't want just success and failure. And victory is when you live as a soul, as a spirit, as a divine light, without losing accountability of the creature. So the more open you are, the more transparent you are, the less you are concerned about if you believe in the hereafter or accounts. You have rendered your account here. Allah knows, God knows. So He knew that I did that with the good intention. And if they don't like it, I apologize and leave. Without anger, without rancor. The entire business is courtesy of conduct. Conduct is towards others, towards communal, towards your family, towards everybody you know, everybody you don't know, and ultimately towards that which is ever permanent. If you are willing to face that all the time, then you are less encumbered and your energies are more available in the moment. And if you live the moment, then you are touching all the time that which is alive every moment. So the whole process is that of moving step at a time on the ladder of consciousness. From very basic sentiency, feeling, touching, all of the, and then connectedness with others until you know there is no others. They're the same as you, slightly different in age or in different color or culture or wealth or knowledge. That's about it. Knowledge, that by that I mean earthly skill knowledge, not the quantum field. That knowledge, once you know, you have access to it, you're not concerned about accumulating any more knowledge. The more you meditate and reflect and touch the zone of infinitude in you, the more you know that that which you really need to know will be given to you at the time that is needed to be known, not according to your mind. You've decided, I want it now. That's your decision. Because you are stretched in time and you have diluted that energy of that laser insight and become a little bulb. That's all. So it has to be real. And for that, you need to be with people who are real. So as you look in their mirror, so the ultimate teacher is a mirror. The father is a teacher, the school teacher is a teacher, but they're all in a discernible, in a measurable, in an earthly way. Needed, needed, needed. Not enough, not enough, not enough. And when you move into wisdom and you want to truly be aware of awareness and being naturally in the infinitude of now, then you need a teacher who will act as a reflector, as a mirror, because he can't help you anymore. Yeah. So early teachers is yes and no, and when the parents have to do that. Not correct, don't do that, don't shout, don't waste, don't clean, wash. Now it's time to sleep, rest. These are guests, we have to be extra, whatever. And all of the other homely, if you like, do's and don'ts. And how to be trained to be in silence, to pray, to rest. Then ultimately, it is the subtler things in you. The early desires you had as a kid. You don't need to psychoanalyze it. Face it, accept it, say, I love that. For that you may occasionally need someone who is attained that earthly, heavenly state, who will not demand from you anything. Because if they do, then it's again transactional. Nothing wrong with transaction. But if it is at that level, then the awakened teacher is good enough for him or her that there are others who want to be awakened. That's enough reward. Because otherwise it's barren, When you are in the zone of constantly being recharged by the infinity, it's quite boring to be with all of the limited people. So you are delighted by coming across occasionally whoever it is that says, no, I know nothing is enough for me. Materials, knowledges, powers. I wanted all of love. It's not enough. I've had enough chances to know that they are helpful, useful, good, but not enough. So the Quran describes it, said, not until you know Allah is enough for you. أَلَيْسَ اللَّهَ بِكَافٍ عَبْدًا. If Allah is not enough for you, nothing will be enough. So you move. Yes, no, I wanted a bigger house, nicer house, better car, fine. Because we are driven all the time towards comfort and ease and instant gratification. Not tomorrow. The child is quite right. The 2-year-old said, I don't want it. Don't give me the toy tomorrow. I want it now. My birthday is now. So your birthday was 2 months ago? No, now. Quite right. Equally, when they are trying to get somewhere, are we there? Are we there? The 2-3-year-old children in the car, the parents find it such a nuisance. But if they look into it, the children are acting actually very spiritually. I want to get there. I want to get, meaning you don't want to delay gratification. You want it now. You are spiritual. The spirit is gratified. So I want it now. It's wonderful. Not until, of course, you are a parent and you have 5 hours of nagging that your parent patience wears off. So we are the same, looking for exactly the same, but it's not a thing. That sameness is beyond space and time, present deep in the heart. It's your spiritual reality. So in what matters most, we are the same. In what doesn't matter, different color, different height, different age, different background, different religion, doesn't matter. So I sum up by saying the entire life we have is differentiated sameness. It's differentiated. This is hard, this is soft, this is hot, this is cold, this is blah, 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 blah. It's differentiated, but it's the same. Meaning, it is to give me some contentment. It is to give me tranquility, inner silence. So the noises stop and I hear the voice and the harmony of truth, which is not a noise. Everything else is a noise. If the noise is in harmony, it leads me into that, so it's helpful. Listen to some wonderful music until you lose it all. You lose the music, you lose yourself, you lose it. Then the gain is there beyond measure. You have to lose this discernible, measurable state so as you are at the gateway of the immeasurable. That is where you get really recharged. That's why you need regular supplication, prayers, pilgrim, whatever, all the other practices, transcendent, whatever. So as not denying your state, but keeping it still for a while in the hope that you touch upon slightly subtler zone of consciousness until you're recalibrating all the time with pure consciousness. With that, you know that so-called death is a most natural earthly phenomena. Anything begins will end. With birth comes death. But the real you, the spirit, the soul, never dies. If you are attuned to that, then you go beyond most fears, sorrows, anxieties, and all of the other depressive aspects that human beings are subjected to. For that you need good companions, friends, others, and practice. That's all. And avoiding to slip down into the drama and the nuisance and the noise of the absurdities of human emotions and expectations and the animal in us. All animals. I mean, which one of them are going to satisfy? The lion or the fox or the rabbit? What? All of them. So, but with practice and awareness, you stroke the lion, give him love and say, look, I know you can devour, but for now, keep quiet a bit. Feed him, keep him quiet. To regulate, so as the humanity part is maintained in reasonable balance. Divinity is beyond balance. And that's what you want. That's what we all want. And again, I emphasize, I consider myself the most fortunate to have been born at this time and this age. It cannot be improved. But I have to read it and benefit from the thousands of years of evolution and awareness and incredible time and place we are in, wherever you are in the world. If you recalibrate with the perfection of the source of this world, then people like you, you like them, you can think. Then you are accountable. Why did you take more? Why less? Why? So you're ready to stay longer, you're ready to leave. You have no baggage on your heart. Mind is clear, the heart is pure, and you have befriended your soul. Then you are friendly with others. This is a knowledge that we can allude to, but it needs to be known and lived. Once it is lived, then you are alive. Then your biological life can be short, long, it does not matter. So, and your health also improves because there are lots of other systems that are subtle begins to kick in. And you're joyful in this world in preparation for perfect bliss, pure bliss of the spiritual world after you leave the material body and the mind, which is also most important, connecting the infinite and the finite. But it can be a big obstacle as a worrying entity, as a demanding, it doesn't work. So with a good mind you are living well as a human being, but with a mind you cannot also replenish as a spiritual being. You need to put it aside. You need to practice stopping the mind. And then you find even your ego was a good thing to have had. Even your arrogance in childhood. Without that, I wouldn't have suffered. I wouldn't have been told off. I wouldn't have been kicked. It's how wonderful. Thank you, ego. You were my friend then, but I don't know you anymore now. There's a trace memory of you. So you are human, divine. Without making fuss about it. You're content. And humility and humbleness becomes your main, if you like, nature. Because it's all passing. Every instant is different. So you become a friend. I hope we are all friends. Bismillah. Thank you. Thank you. It was nice. Thank you.